We came from humble beginnings. We started really with a little storefront, but I'm happy to say that we came a long ways. Three, four gentlemen, including a rabbi, walked into my office at that time, and they asked me would I consider building a synagogue. So my answer to them was, I'm a contractor and a developer, but I'm not a synagogue builder. There may be some other contractors who are more qualified to build. No, they insist that I should build. So when I asked them where, they weren't sure. When I asked them how much money is available to build, they said they don't have any money. Well, do you have land? They said we don't have any land.
The city of Aventura actually came after the building of the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. The city was incorporated 16 years ago, and the temple was here for 20 years as of now. And I'm proud to say that I believe that this synagogue was instrumental in giving the area a sense of community. And I truly and firmly believe that if it wasn't for this synagogue, many people might not have moved to this area and given that sense of community.
20 years ago, Bill Lander came to my husband, the late Marvin Bernstein, as many of you know, and told him about building a temple, and Marvin was so excited. He asked him to contribute, which Marvin generously did. And beside that, he did something so special. When they built the foundation, he threw, I don't recall, silver or gold coins for mazel, but that was Marvin Bernstein's way. I know many of you loved him and admired him, and I miss him.
Before anything happened, I was fortunate to be in Israel, and I've met a man who I thought would be the most perfect person to help me put this synagogue, building, financing, and staff together. Of course, there were other people who were very helpful, but the man I'm about to talk about is instrumental of making it all happen. Yes, I want to believe that I was part of it, and he calls himself the conductor, and I call myself whatever took to conduct him. His name is Dr. Amir Baron, and I can assure you that without Dr. Baron, this would have never taken place.
He's the glue. He's the glue. He's the glue that keeps everything together. He has been an inspiration to every layperson who has been here. Every professional who's worked here has worked with him in a way that, you know, he has helped them grow in their careers, and he's what can I say? There's only one Amir Baron. Only one Amir Baron.
My father was a real estate developer in South Florida, and for him, the synagogue, and frankly Israel as well, was always the key to his life. The center, always important. Charity was the most important thing to him. And then he was very happy to be involved in building this synagogue. And as it progressed, when we opened in 1990, it was just a wonderful thing. He was there in the march from the little storefront next to Publix down here. He was right in the front row. So it was a very proud day for our entire family.
Well, my connection to this building is that I was a part of the synagogue when we were in a storefront, and at that time we were planning the building, and I was actively participated in getting the building built. You know, I actually was part of the entourage that moved the Torah. We walked the Torah over from the old storefront to here.
Well, the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center represents actually a lot of things to me. Probably most importantly is my ability to be able to come to a place of worship and be a Jew and to be with fellow Jews and to be who I am and to be around other people who are also comfortable in expressing their Judaism and our rituals and our heritage. I think to me that's probably the most important thing is to have a sacred place where we as Jews can come.
In some ways it looked like a dream. I believe that one of the reasons, the main reason maybe it got done, is because everybody believed it could be done.
Yachad harim yiraneinu.
Many people find the name, the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, to be one that is misleading. Oftentimes people call the synagogue and say, "Are you a Jewish community center?" And we say, technically we're a synagogue, but I think whoever came up with this name had a greater vision for what a synagogue could be and ought to be. I always find myself saying that Jews need Jews to be Jewish. We're not the type of faith where you can go off on a mountaintop and meditate eating a grain of rice every day and communing with the spirit that unites all things in order to manifest the Jewish tradition.
Well, the new tagline of the synagogue, which I think is brilliant, is "You belong here." And I think that's really true for everybody. I think there's programming that runs the gamut of multi-generation and also cross-pollination of those generations. There's the Tauber Academy, which for many people is the gateway into the synagogue, and for many children is their entranceway into the first school experience. For young professionals, there's a group. For the Yaya sisterhood, the brotherhoods, the beyond baby boomers, so forth and so on. There really is a little something for everyone. The programming is dynamite, the warmth here, the friendliness, it's just very all-encompassing.
Even for me.
Even for you.
Thank you.
When somebody who is not Jewish comes into a Jewish site, sometimes they're a little intimidated, but the warmth, the graciousness, the hospitality, and the stories, the beautiful, wonderful, funny stories that Amir always had to tell everyone, always put everyone at ease. And it was very easy to see that this is a true community center.
I believe at the core what a rabbi ought to be doing is building community. I serve the synagogue, but ultimately my job is to create a spiritual home for people that feel a deep sense of rootedness, in their neighborhood, in their area, that they don't want to leave, they don't want to separate from. They want to give back towards, and they also want to gain something from that experience as well. So building community is my number one job as a rabbi, and here at the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, I've been given many wonderful opportunities to do so, and it's been a privilege to watch this congregation grow and thrive, or at least the past 3+ years that I've been here serving as the rabbi.
And then, going 10 steps beyond that, Dr. Baron has these wonderful relationships with people around the world, and certainly our national and international leaders. And when we, the community, are fortunate enough to have some of those leaders brought here by Dr. Baron, the general community is invited in to partake of the discussion, to listen. And how wonderful, how spectacular is that? What a magnificent opportunity. Not an opportunity you would receive in any community, let alone in a synagogue.
Aventura played host today to a world leader of peace. Former Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres spoke today at the Turnberry Jewish Center. Peres was one of
From the very beginning, the synagogue has always been able to attract and bring to this community outstanding political leaders. Certainly, in recent memory, Barbara Boxer, Chuck Schumer, Joe Lieberman, and my favorite is obviously President Clinton.
Clinton, the featured guest speaker tonight at the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. About 900 people packed the synagogue to hear the former president speak.
I had the opportunity to meet with him approximately 2 years ago, and when I introduced myself as mayor of the city of Aventura, the first words out of his mouth were, "I've had the privilege of being in your community. I was at your synagogue, Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center. What a magnificent sanctuary that you have in that community."
A synagogue not only is known in this community and even in the city, it's known throughout the world. I mean, if you speak to people who are important in Israeli government and politics, they know Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center, and they probably have been here. We've entertained so many important people in politics, in all areas, in the news industry, entertainment industry. We get a lot of people to come and speak to our synagogue, and we're eternally grateful for that. I mean, last year, Professor Alan Dershowitz came down and spoke to us, and as a matter of fact, he has become a member of our synagogue.
When we get important speakers here, important dignitaries like President Clinton, who really topped everything off for us, but we've had many, many senators and congressmen and presidents and prime ministers from Israel. It shows to us, number one, Aventura really has made its own little mark in this country, our little town of Aventura, and it's wonderful for all our congregants and everybody in the community, even if they don't belong to the synagogue, to be able to touch people like that, people who run our country, people who run Israel, because more important than anything is Israel, the United States and Israel. That's what it's all about for all of us.
Israel needs a strong Jewish community in the world to support us, to sustain us, to help us in times of need, but also stand with us in times of happiness. Similarly, the Jewish communities abroad need Israel to be strong. They need Israel as a symbol. They need it as a point of reference. They need it as a symbol of unity. They need it as a homeland, not only in times of difficulty, but also in times of happiness. As such, I believe that Jewish communities in the world and Israel have a relationship which is really a two-way street. We have Israeli dignitaries coming to Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center on a regular basis, and Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center sends delegations and missions to Israel regularly as well, so that we maintain this relationship alive and dynamic.
Dr. Baron, the executive director of our synagogue, introduced us to a fabulous, great sculptor, artist named Frank Meisler from Israel. We went to Dick Simon's office at his company, and we spent time with him, and we showed him a mock-up of a piece of sculpture that Frank Meisler was proposing called the Gates of Jerusalem. And as a result of that, Dick decided to dedicate that in memory of his wife, on behalf of his family. And that piece of sculpture is in the lobby of our synagogue for everyone to see. And thousands of people look at that every year. It's a very beautiful piece.
ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של
if not the largest, one of the largest groups of survivors of any synagogue in America. And that group has helped to make this synagogue who we are today.
Before I parted from my father for the last time, which the Germans parted us, he actually commended me, saying, look me in the eyes, and he says, you're the youngest in the family, you must survive. When you survive, you should tell of the atrocities that happened to the Jewish people.
It is imperative that we as a synagogue help to promote the concept of never forget.
I had a dream of building a Holocaust memorial in this synagogue. From the beginning, I had the cooperation from all the board of directors and from all the leadership. Of course, the one that put in most work with me was Dr. Amir Baron. I have to mention his name. So when I had my dream to build even the first memorial, I turned to Henry Dorfman because I did not want this synagogue should pay for any of this. I thought it was my obligation to raise the money.
What I feel that I lost everybody, and I remember it. I can't forget.
Well, when I walk through there, I'm always drawn to the yard site plaques for my parents. That's the first thing. And then after that, the wall with the partisan fighters,
Zognet kämen, als die Geist dem letzten Weg. Himmeln blowen und verstellen blowen take. So that means never say that this is your last day, and the sky is still blue and it shines for a future day. And it goes on and on and on.
We're very fortunate in this community to have exposure to those people, because most communities throughout America don't get the opportunity to hear the stories and to be part in some small way of their lives and what they went through and how it impacted them and the Jewish community in general, you know. So we're very, very fortunate to have so many great people.
I grew up in a conservative household in New York City. My grandfather was extremely religious. He was Orthodox. And some of my fondest memories growing up were in temple with him on Shabbat or during holidays, standing, sitting, davening next to him, and just spending that quiet time with him, watching him so devoutly immerse himself in something that was so meaningful and so basic to him. And in a way, even though I'm not Orthodox, a lot of that inner sense of feeling, I think, has carried on in me. And I hope that at least my children see some of that in me that I saw in him.
That's right. I'm very blessed. I have 4 generations of my family are members here at the synagogue. That's why I think it's particularly important for me and why I focus a lot on the future of the synagogue and the school, primarily because I want this to be a place where not only my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and of course my children can come and use this as a house of worship and a house of learning and also a place to socialize and to meet with fellow Jews, but for all of the future Jewish generations. And so I think that heritage wall represents, in a small way, the commitment that we all have to make to making sure that the synagogue stands, hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years in the future.
We are very proud of where we have come from and where we now are, and I think that it's only going to bode well for us in the future, because I know that my children and my grandchildren and my friends and their children and grandchildren will make sure that this synagogue stays together.
I talk to my children. I say, you always be a Jew and keep the tradition. This is very important. Never deny that you're Jewish, because we suffer too much to be a Jew. So keep the tradition for whatever, as long as you can.
A few years after we have built the synagogue came a question of a school for the children. And since we were so family oriented, we felt that we should do a school, a family school for the children, so they can get Jewish education. And we believe that Jewish education should start from very early on. We started building a school which became very, very successful. We had over 300 students and who grew from kindergarten to bar mitzvah time and after. And we meet even children today that are already in high school and who have gone to the school and said that they had such a wonderful beginning at our school, which was the purpose of it. Therefore, we felt very grateful for what we have accomplished, because we wanted it to be Ledor Vador.
We're commanded from the very beginning to pass this tradition on to our children, to tell them the story of the Exodus from Egypt, to tell them of all of the obligations and the morals, the values, the ethics of the Jewish tradition, not only so that the tradition perpetuates itself, but because we believe as Jews that we have an eternal mission unto the world, and that is to be a light unto the nations, to be a shining example of how the world can learn how to better take care of itself and how we can show other nations on the earth.
Well, the past, I've so much explained to you where I came from, and it was instilled in me that a synagogue is a very important part, and I believe that our rabbi would interpret from the Torah that the most important thing in a community, if they don't have the right synagogue or a synagogue for the people who want to belong to, is to build a synagogue.
My message, of course, the synagogue, and the reason I was for building the synagogue and contributed a lot of money. Of course, other people built land and so forth, put it together, put a lot of effort to get enough money to build the facility. And I it gives me great pleasure because I think there's a lot of people. I'm not a religious person, and I maybe what I spent the most expensive time in the world. That I sit in the synagogue for what I give for. It runs me about $25,000 a minute. I think that's what's the cost. So basically, I'm just saying, but it gives a lot of people pleasure, and I think that if it gives them pleasure, and whatever it is, Socrates said, "I think, therefore I am." If I think I'm a happy person, if I can go and pray and be happy and pray to God and pray for this and feel good about it, then it's almost like being a doctor of pleasantries, where people can go and come out feeling good and be happy and transfer their happiness to their fellow man. And it's a good thing.
The people here are so wonderful. They're like a family. It really is like a family. My husband and I were recently ill, and the first ones to call, the first ones to come. It's a place that is very comforting, very important in my life, in my husband's life. It's continuity. But, I come here and they're speaking Yiddish, and it reminds me of my parents, and I always think how, and a lot of them knew my parents.
Do you speak Yiddish?
A little bit.
What is your favorite word?
Narishkeiten.
If there's one thing that I think every Jew either recognizes or subconsciously feels, is that we have this linear relation to ancestors, to a culture that's ancient, and it's part of us. It's part of our DNA. It's what we are, and no matter what you say or do, or even no matter how detached you may be from it at some point in your life, it's always something that's in you, a part of you. It's part of your fiber, your being. And at some point in your life, if you're not recognizing it, you will boomerang back and ultimately relate to that.
It's like the famous line from Fiddler on the Roof, and he says, "That's why we always wear our hats. We go from place to place, and regardless where we go, we bring our Judaism with us, and we bring our traditions and our forefathers with us, no matter where we are, and hope to continue in the future."
Are you kidding?
No, it's fine.
Oh, sugar. I want to be able to say this.
We'll go like this. Take two.
Take two. We'll be taking 10.
Yes.
Okay. Where do we start?
We'll start on Fridays. We'll start Friday.
Okay. Shabbos starts for me on Friday when I light my candles and say thank you to God for all the wonderful things He has done for me. And then along comes Saturday, and I'm always looking forward to it. I'm eager to get dressed and go to shul, old-fashioned word for temple. And the high holy days are so perfect, they remind me of going to the opera, the Jewish opera to God.
I think the thing that I pray most for is for peace. It just seems like we as a people have been in conflict for our entire existence, and it just never seems to be a moment in time where we are able to have peace and tranquility. 14 million Jews in the world, a world with 6 billion people in it. You would think that at some point in time we wouldn't be under the kind of scrutiny and pressure and criticism that we are, but it just seems in 5,000 years the Jews have been targeted, and I pray for there to be someday peace for the Jewish people. All right, let's start over again. Are we rolling?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.